I'm going to tell you something that is a little bit controversial, and it may be something that you don't want to hear. But it's the fact that if you are not using AI extensively in your workflow these days, then you are essentially working with an arm tied behind your back. And for a long time, I was right there with you. I resisted this change because I thought it was a gimmick or I thought it would make me a lazy developer. But the reality is that these days, these tools have gotten enormously better from where they were just a couple years ago or even a couple months ago, and they're rapidly improving. And it doesn't matter whether or not the tools are perfect. It's the fact that the baseline for productivity has increased. And so if you are not using these tools, you are at a significant disadvantage. Okay, so let's go back a year or two when, for me personally, I first started dabbling with Amazon Q, which is now Kiro, and then GitHub Copilot, which I also tried. And to be honest, when I first tried these things, I was not impressed at all. I found that these tools got in my way more than they helped. In my view, they were like a glorified autocomplete that occasionally helped, but for the most part, just kind of slowed me down. And I very quickly learned that and disabled them shortly after. With the one exception that like things like library, like searching through a library where you know a certain function or data structure exists, but you just can't remember the syntax of it. So very useful in that regard. And also, I guess to be perfectly truthful, I'm kind of a purist in the sense that I really like writing my own code. And I think a lot of us do. That's why we got into this profession, right? Because writing code is fun and it's rewarding. And when it works the way you want it to work, it feels really good. And this whole AI thing kind of felt like an attack on like the very lowest level of what we do as software engineers. So I was kind of, in all honesty, very skeptical about it as well, because it's kind of an attack on my identity. And if that resonates with you, please let me know in the comments as well. I'm curious to get other people's perspectives. But moving forward, about, 6 to 8 months ago is where things started to get a little bit interesting. I started dabbling more out of curiosity. And since then, I kind of changed the management role. So kind of what I do day to day is slightly different, but I'm still very actively coding, and both at work and as part of like side projects that I work on as well. I started with trivial things like using it to rewrite Slack messages or documents, reframing, things like that. Very, very useful in that regard. And then I started using it for brainstorming. I would throw at it details of a problem that I had, or maybe a strategic or organizational problem. And I would say, like, how would you compose this organization to solve for X, Y, and Z problems? Or here are the problems that I'm experiencing. What are your insights out of this? And I found that this feedback was extremely helpful for me. It revealed things that I probably would have never found on my own if I hadn't used these tools, right? So that was a real game changer for me, something that I didn't previously do, and I found immediate utility out of using these AI tools. And then when things really started changing was then I started playing with Kiro and Claude Code. And my God, if you are not using these tools today, you are making a giant mistake. Specifically, spec-driven development. Extremely, extremely powerful. And for those of you that don't know about this yet, because maybe you're deliberately ignoring what's going on in this industry, or maybe you just haven't gone here yet, it's the idea that you can feed an AI specifications for a system, right? You can give it requirements, user stories, you can give it a design in itself if you want, including the APIs, the flows, the pieces of infrastructure that you want, the constraints, the data models, all that stuff. And you can be as prescriptive or specific as you want, or be very lax. I would suggest being more prescriptive because it kind of adds more guardrails to the system and ensures that it kind of works the way that you want it to work, as opposed to like putting together slop. And so I started using it for that, specifically for a pet project that I had at work that was a terrible, terrible pain point for my organization. There was always this question that got asked by leaders, and because of just the nature of our system, it was very difficult to answer. And so I put together a prototype using this spec-driven development and also based on our source code. And I was like, create a UI that creates this essential simulator where we can very quickly reconstruct certain scenarios and answer questions. And man, it was insane how fast I was able to put this together and how useful it was, like pretty much right out of the gate. So it completely blew me me away and change my mind on kind of the utility of these tools. So please, I'm begging you, and you are doing yourself a disservice if you don't listen to me. And you're essentially playing the game, the corporate game, with a hand tied behind your back. Please try these tools out. Please have an open mind. I know a lot of us are purists and we write loving code, but guys, I'm telling you, our career is changing right underneath us. The ground is moving, and you need to either decide I'm going to be on board with this, or I'm going to get left behind and drift down into irrelevancy. It's really like that serious right now. And I don't mean to scare anyone, but that's just the reality of it. And another very useful application of this stuff is, this is kind of a tangential point, more for managers, but also useful for ICs or individual contributors as well, is more about managing your administrative overhead. And what I mean by that is that as a manager now with multiple teams reporting into me, there's a lot for me to keep track of. Priorities, where we are with goals, how certain projects are doing, what the blockers are, how I can help with each one, or what needs to be done to move past those blockers. It's a lot to handle. And so one of the things that a coworker showed me that kind of blew my mind was this like project tracker concept that he built, using Claude Skills that essentially looked at all your emails and aggregated all the details of these projects. Also, you can set it up to look at like Word documents or whatever wiki that your team uses to share information with each other. Look at code repositories to keep much closer track of where these projects were and what the next steps were. So you're not going around just poking people and wasting their time by asking, hey, where are we with this? Sometimes you still need to do that because some information isn't publicly available via emails or other. But it greatly reduces the amount that, at least for me, I needed to bother people and help me feel a lot more in the loop in terms of where projects were. So very, very useful in that sense as well. And there is another important aspect of this that you really need to think about as well. And it's the fact that it's the corporate angle and the boss factor. Companies know that shareholders are expecting productivity gains as a result of AI. You can see this with all these layoffs that these companies are doing and this narrative that companies are building around, hey, we're investing in all these data centers and crap, right? And saying, oh, our workforce is using AI in X, Y, and Z ways, and we're so much more productive, right? Awesome. And the truth of the matter is that leadership loves telling success stories of their employees using AI. If I'm a manager and I have an employee that is using AI to solve some particular problem, it makes that person look really good, because to me, it's like, oh, this is perfect. This is a success story that I can bubble upwards and make our entire org look good, right? And then I can make my manager look good because, they're my manager, and what I do and what my teams do is a reflection on them. And so it's a success story all the way down. And there is increased pressure to use these things. And if you are not using these things and you're just continuing as usual, just doing your day to day and not leveraging AI for tooling or efficiency gains or whatever it may be, you're really not capitalizing on a really important opportunity that can help your career. Honestly, managers love it when people make them look good, right? And that's just the truth. That's not just an opinion. That's just whether it's an explicit truth or a bias that gets into play. That's just how these things work. The best thing that you can do as an individual contributor, or even as a manager, it's not constrained to that, is to find ways to leverage AI to solve problems that previously you just didn't have time to do or weren't feasible before. And so that's my lesson for you. Be aware of the corporate angle and how much these leaders care about AI and the adoption and application of it. And tightly connected to this is that there is going to be, and this is not a prediction, this is already happening from people that I've talked to and also what's happening internally, there's going to be new measures of success, and it's going to be based on AI usage. It's going to start kind of loosely, where the people that are using these things get rewarded, right? And that's happening right now, like full stop. But it will get to a point where if you are not using these tools, you are going to be in trouble, either through explicit performance management because you're not using them, or just because you're not accomplishing as much as your counterparts are. Because like I said before, the baseline for productivity has shifted. So this is not going to be optional very, very soon, if not already. And so you need to kind of get on board with this. This is not a fad that's going to go away. This is a fundamental shift in how we work and how the software engineer operates. And I know it's scary. I was scared initially, but I've kind of since embraced, and I'm feeling a lot better about it. But it's gonna just change how we operate day to day. And you don't have to love it, and you don't have to trust every single output that it produces. But you do have to get your hands dirty and start tinkering with it. If you haven't embraced these tools or started trying them, please do yourself a favor and listen to me here. It's going to change everything. And if you're not at the forefront, you're going to be at the back of the line. So my final advice is to get on board or get left behind. The choice is yours. I'll see you in the next one.